you know, tell me why the auction route is the right route to go down. Give me a justification, right? What are the benefits? What are the risks? And when you start asking that set of questions, it's amazing to me how often agents will pull back and essentially say, well, okay, well, we've got alternatives that we can explore, et cetera, et cetera. So to me, it is a sign of vendors becoming more educated.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so too, and there's less opportunity for selling agents to to add those hidden costs. Look, Martin, let's not forget the fact that some auctioneers are now charging $1,200 to attend the sale of your most valuable asset on the day. And as I've said before, this is what they're contending with. Number one, the auctioneer that takes carriage of the sale of the property is only become acquainted with the property on the day. Typically 5 or 10 minutes before the actual auction starts, they're reading the paraphernalia. This is most, not all, but most, right? So they don't even visit the property during the week prior, and yet they take carriage of your most valuable asset, and they're meant to perform to the best of their ability on that. That's bullshit. You can't, that's basically, you're going to a surgeon to get your appendix removed, and he's a plastic surgeon, and all he's done is done breast implants, and all of us, he said, hey, a scalpel's a scalpel, a stitch is a stitch. I'll just read up on appendicitis, before we sedate you, Mr. Norton. Hey, she'll be apples, and everything's cool. I mean, that's what more or less you're going to get. That's number one. Number two, the auctioneer, as we've shared before on the show, is basically navigating through the day that you end up with more traffic on the road between the hours of 10 o'clock and 1 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And that's through other means and surveys that we've come to share with our followers over the many years. They are contending with navigating through traffic, and I see more and more that auctioneers end up more late to the auction than early. So they're frustrated. They're not thinking about achieving the best result. Again, as I said earlier, they're not thinking about. They're more thinking about which way they're going to go to the next auction. Which route are they going to take? Are they going to take the M2, the M7, the M5? How the hell are they going to traverse from Parramatta to Campbelltown? How are they going to get? That's what they're thinking about, but they're not really focused on what's happening at hand. That's the noise that is happening. Thirdly, auctions are taking longer because people are becoming wiser, and after a certain point in time, the novelty is wearing off. And people are becoming wiser. They've been listening again to our show, and as I've said to over the years, I've said I don't understand why the majority of bidders at an auction stay silent. You should be having a conversation with the auctioneer. You should be taking the auctioneer to task. You should be, because they've got carriage of the sale of the property, and if they can't give you answers for the questions that you have, the usual thing is, oh yeah, you would have known, it's on the contract. You should have talked to the selling agent. Hey, fine, but when I spoke to the selling agent, he didn't tell me. He or she didn't know. Now, please, you tell me. You tell me, what is that? Is the dwelling that once upon a time appeared to be a double garage that's now been converted into a granny flat, or is that council approved? Now I know the answers. Most of my team will know the answers because we've already done the research. But the auctioneer wouldn't know what's one of my favourite sayings. I wouldn't know whether it's a roof tile or a floor tile if you'd smacked them in the head. So this is the reality. So this is what that's your auction, and then on top of that, they're charging you $1,200. For the privilege of underselling your most valuable asset when it requires a lot more. And guess what, Martin? There are more and more people standing by the sideline telling agents and agencies, and this is the conversation that I have with a lot of auctioneers that I know in the industry, and selling agents. They will ring up, and they're getting more and more, and it's more apparent over the last 3 months that many people are saying we will not be participating at the auction, so we can either negotiate prior, or if the property is available on the market, we will come and see you post. And this is where also you've got a lot of auctioneers that will continue to add pressure on the vendors, and they will then use the vendor's bid, stupidly throw in a low vendor's bid, thinking that they're going to extract create more momentum in order to get the sale on the day, to make the selling agent look good in front of all the neighbors that have turned up for the auction, rather than looking like the house was passed in. And this is why you've got like we shared last week, Martin, with regards to the eastern suburbs, where there are 13 or 14 properties that got taken to auction and only 2 got sold. The rest got cancelled or passed in or postponed. That is your outcome, and that is a bad outcome. That is a bad result when you got all the street, all the neighbourhood coming to an auction, and the property gets passed in, and it gets passed in at a low value because the stupidity and the ignorance of the auctioneer and the selling agent, thinking that by throwing in a low vendor's bid that they were going to stimulate momentum, only to pass it in at a much lower price than the vendor's really willing to accept. So, and again, all it does is put a lot more pressure on the vendor, which is, hey, that is the strategy after all, right? It's not about getting the best result for your vendor. It's not about really getting the best result for your client. It's about selling the property on the day so that you can pay for the lease of the new Bugatti, or the Tesla, and buy another Armani suit. I don't know.
Well, I always say they just want a transaction at any price, right? That's all they want. Now, one other quick observation. I think this is another very